Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to One Civil Law, where as always we learn through the misfortunes of others. As always, I hope today will be the day I earn that subscription, and today will be the day that we all learn something about law in the great state of Florida. We are here in our continuing coverage of the case of Scot Peterson versus Florida, or I guess the other way around, because Florida's obviously the plaintiff, because they're the one suing for conviction. They would like to put this guy in jail for 95 years. He stood by and did nothing, so they say, although we've not really heard a lot of evidence to that effect as of yet. And also, they're charging him as a caretaker, as I understand it, which seems questionable at best under the relevant statutes. We've seen some really good lawyering, all things considered. The defense lawyer sometimes gets ahead of himself a little bit, sometimes, tries to feed them, testify a little bit to it. He pushes the boundaries a little bit, but that could be strategic. He could be doing it deliberately, trying to test the envelope a little bit. So, he's a good lawyer, though, and he definitely gets what he needs out of the witnesses that he's gotten. So he's done really good from the witnesses in terms of trying to prove that Scot Peterson isn't a coward typically, and to the extent the witnesses saw Peterson act on the day of the incident, he seemed to be doing things that seemed to be in furtherance of his duty, as best we can determine. They perhaps were not optimal, but of course, in a fog of war situation, optimal is not necessarily required. We just tried to execute the duty in something that approaches a reasonable manner, and it seems like we did that. The state continues to say or allude to the fact that he was hiding behind a car or something for a half hour or 40 minutes. I don't know, but we haven't seen the tape, nor have we heard anyone testify that that's in fact what happened. So if that's what happened, that would be really helpful, you know. So I don't know if they're planning on bringing that evidence into trial, but we haven't heard from it. So the state has started well with its primacy, started with a lot of emotion, and certainly primed the jury to care. Then we have a lot of middle ground of kind of with the medical examiners proving that the people died, which we kind of knew as a given, and some other stuff that's kind of which is fine because not every witness is going to be dynamite. Not every witness is going to be knock their socks off. So there's a lot of in a trial. That doesn't necessarily make it unimportant. It's just not as important as the stuff we start with and end with, right? The idea of primacy and recency. We want to start strong and end strong. So maybe that's what we're doing. Maybe we're going to bring the tape and make it last thing and really hammer that as the last thing that we hit the jury with as we rest our case. Maybe that's the idea. If that's the idea, we'll do. I still have not had lunch. My chicken wings have been cooking. So as soon as the trial gets started, I'm going to check on my chicken wings and see how they're doing. And then I'm going to eat them on camera because I'm hungry. They started strong. Yeah, they started very emotionally. They started with evidence to make the jury care about the case. They started with evidence to make the jury want to see justice done. They inflamed the passions of the jury. They they started in a way that made sense. They made the jury care, get them invested, make them want to look for a villain. Yeah, I thought they started strong. I thought they started in a very reasonable way. It's a very reasonable strategy. Appeal to his emotion isn't what I consider strong emotions only good for weak cases. Fair enough. Noted. It's not a bad idea to make sure the jury cares, you know, that they want it's not a bad idea to make sure that they care. So starting with some emotionality is not necessarily a bad strategy. You want to make the jury care and invested and hopefully want them to rule for you. Like we're looking for a bad guy. And can you point us in the direction of a bad guy so we can feel better? It's a reasonable way to go. We do need facts to support the case. That's true. And we're light on that, as I've made a point of noting. And we're light on facts, as I've made a point of saying. We don't have really great information as to what the defendant did. And to the extent we do, it seems like he was behaving in ways that are at least plausibly reasonable in the way that other people were behaving. So a little thin on the defendant did nothing stuff. So yes, I'm hoping that that's what we're going to end with. I'm hoping we're going to end with a bombshell tape, and that's what's going to bring this together. We'll see. But right now, I don't think the state has made its case. So if there's a tape of him cowering behind a car or something for 40 minutes, that'd be great. That'd be very helpful information. And then we just have to figure out the law as it applies to this situation. Also, we could at least make an argument, or we could try that cowering behind the car for 40 minutes was the correct thing to do in the situation, which maybe it was, but probably not. I wouldn't want to go that way. Oh yeah, you definitely play the full 40 minutes for sure. You have to. You definitely play the full 40 minutes. And you let the jury just sit there and really appreciate how long that is. Oh yeah, you definitely play the full thing for sure. No doubt. Yeah. We're light on tying the non-action to law, yeah. And it doesn't appear that we're gonna try to do this in contract. Like, they tried to, like, pull, like, references to students out of the contract. Give me a break, you know? Give me a break. So, this isn't rooted in contract. There's no way, right? They're gonna try to if they're gonna try to argue this is rooted in contract, you gotta give me a break, right? So, like, okay, so where does this duty arise from? If it's not contract, because it's clearly not. We spent all of 30 seconds on the contract and pulled out, like, 4 sentences that mention the word student vaguely. Give me a break. In a contract that's of for school resource offices, yeah, students are probably gonna be mentioned at some points in the contract. Is that like, you gotta be kidding me, right? So if we're not basing this in contract, we're basing this in or we're basing this in some softer version of contract. Like, because the teachers are caretakers, which they seem to be under Florida law, therefore he's a caretaker under Florida law. So we're basing this in some sort of softer form of contract, but he's not an employee of the school. So I'm not even sure that works. If he's an employee of the school, maybe, but he's not. The teachers are employees of the school. He works at the school, but he's not an employee of the school. So I'm not sure that works either. I have doubts on the law big time. Yeah, I'm not sure whether or not we can convict him in Uvalde either, but I'd love to try. I may not win, but I'm gonna feel a shit ton better prosecuting everyone in sight. Maybe some of them will plead out. At this point, they need to show he's playing Candy Crush behind the car while shots are going to get me over the finish line. Something along those lines, that would be very helpful. I mean, the state has certainly alluded to the fact that they have something along those lines, so they could show me something like that, that'd be very helpful. That's a big purse. Right, while we're waiting to get this started, I'm gonna go check on my chicken wings. Be nice and calm, and we'll be right back. Alright. So what I did this time, try and mix it up a little bit. I cooked the wings by themselves without anything, and then I put together a concoction of half blue cheese, half mild barbecue sauce, and then I added salt, pepper, and a little bit of actual garlic and, sauced the wings, and here is the result.
fully as a medical examiner forensic pathologist since then, so it's been 18 years.
I didn't quite catch the end. Was that 18 years you said?
Is that better now?
And those 18 years is that all at Miami-Dade, or it's been with different medical examiners' offices?
I've worked at multiple offices. I did 3.5, almost 4 years at the Miami-Dade Medical Examiner's Office because I was hired after I graduated from the program. Then I worked in the District 21 Medical Examiner, which comprises Lee, Henry, and Glades County here in Florida. After that, I was there for about 7 years. Then I moved to Maricopa in Arizona, Phoenix, and I was there about 1.5 years. Then I returned to Broward. I was there about 3 years. And after Broward, I became the Chief Medical Examiner in Palm Beach County. I was there for 3 years, and now I'm the Chief Medical Examiner here in District 23 in St. Augustine.
And do you hold any board certifications?
Yes, so I'm board certified in anatomic and clinical pathology and forensic pathology.
And also, I wanted to ask you if I presume you're a medical doctor. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. And are you licensed in the state of Florida?
I am.
All right. So in 2018, in February 2018, you were working with the Broward County Medical Examiner's Office?
That is correct.
Okay. And during that time period, did there come a moment when you had to respond or help out with a school shooting at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School?
Yes.
And what did you do in regards to that shooting?
So that day I performed 2 autopsies related to that death investigation.
Okay. And was one of those autopsies done on Peter Wang?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to, normally if you were in the courtroom, I would show you what's in March States 23. It's a composite, but since we're using technology, I'm going to ask Mr. Savitsky to please put up the picture and see if you can recognize the picture that's going to be coming up on the screen.
State if I enable you to do so.
Thank you, Judge. Doctor, do you recognize who's in that picture?
Yes.
Who is it?
He was identified at the time of autopsy as Peter Wang.
All right, thank you. You can put it down, please. So, did you perform an autopsy on Peter Wang, Doctor?
I did.
How many gunshot wounds did Mr. Wang have?
Mr. Wang had 12 gunshot wound pathways, but a total of 13 entry defects.
And I'm sorry, I meant to ask you earlier and I forgot. How many autopsies have you performed over the course of your career?
Yes, I did the numbers recently. I'm over 6,000.
And do you know how many of those were related to gunshot wounds?
I do not have an actual number for gunshot wounds, but I do a significant amount of cases that are related to gunshot wounds.
All right. And did you do those type of cases both in Miami-Dade, Broward, and I think you said, is it Collier or Lee?
Yes, in Phoenix, in Maricopa County, Palm Beach, and St. Augustine, yes.
In performing the autopsy on Mr. Wang, were there certain of those, the wounds, the entrance wounds that you found, were there certain ones that would have caused death?
What? Who cares?
Yes.
We know he's dead. We got it.
Describe for the jury those wounds that would have caused death.
So immediately lethal, he had 4 gunshot wounds, and those 4 gunshot wounds were to the head. They were on the right side. I'm going to point at myself. It will be on the right side of his head, from the parietal and temporal region, and then his cheeks, and his jawbone.
There was a break in the sound, Madam Court Reporter. Were you okay with? Okay. Just wanted to double check. Did he have any wounds, any gunshot wounds to his legs?
He did.
All right, and can you just briefly describe those gunshot wounds, please?
Yes. So he had multiple wounds. He had on the right side, on the back of the right side, he had one wound that went through the pelvic region, fracturing some bone into the abdominal region. Then he also had another gunshot wound on the right side from the lateral side, meaning outside from the body, from the lateral side to the medial side and going upwards. And he also had a gunshot wound on his right foot that went basically through his heel into the anterior aspect of the foot and out.
And were you able to tell from the autopsy whether or not those three wounds that you just talked about, would they have caused Mr. Peter Wang not to be able to walk?
Right. So the wound that was on his right buttock region, posterior side, that went to the buttock into the hip, that fractured a portion of the pelvic bone. That it would have been very difficult to walk with that fractured pelvic bone. The wound on the heel, that went through the heel, through the foot, also fractured bone. So it would have been difficult to walk with that as well.
And also, while performing the autopsy, either before, during, or after, were you able to determine Mr. Wang's age, his weight, his height?
No one cares.
So the age is reported when the students are identified.
I'll take it as a given.
And
Can we
so
move
he
on
was
to other
reported
things?
to be 15 years old at the time of his death.
Okay.
And he was
You have
consistent with
proved
a
my
15-year-old.
satisfaction beyond any
His
possible
height,
reasonable
we
doubt.
measured
He is in
him
fact
at the
dead. Can we move on to other
office,
things?
and we measured him at 61 inches, which is 5 foot 1 inch.
All right. And did you say his weight? I might have missed it.
Oh, I'm sorry. His weight was 128 pounds as measured in the office.
And doctor, could you please tell the jury what the cause of death was?
Yes, multiple gunshot wounds,
And what was the manner of death?
homicide.
Judge, I have no further questions. Thank you very much, doctor.
Okay, cross-examination?
Vince
No questions.
dead.
State, is the witness excused?
Yes, sir.
Great.
Ladies and gentlemen, we need to do a trade and get another witness on the technology, so I'm going to have you step in the back just one moment. I'll have you right back with me. Again, same admonition as always, please don't discuss the facts of the case, the
Is it gonna
evidence,
be
the
another
witnesses, or the
medical
testimony
examiner?
amongst yourselves or anyone else. If you'll leave the notepads in your chairs and just step in the back one quick moment, I will be right back with you. Thank you.
Thank you. May I have please?
Yeah, doctor, give me 1 second. Okay, we're outside the presence of the jury. Doctor, you are excused. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
State the name of the next witness.
Is Dr. Rebecca McDougall?
Guys, I'm ready to move on to other things. All right, I'm ready to move on to other things. I got it.
Dr. McDougall, I can see you on the
Dead.
Zoom call. Can you turn on your video and your audio, please?
Yes, sir. I'm trying.
I'm ready to move
Start
on to
video.
other things.
There we go.
Dr. McDougall, I'm outside the presence
That's
of the
what
jury. I'm
people
going
from
to do
lawyer
this
know, that's
outside
nice.
of the presence of the jury, then I'm going
Lawyer
to do it
knows.
again in front of the jury. Can you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Can you please state your full name and spell your full name?
My name is Rebecca McDougall, REBECCA, MAC D-O-U-G-A-L-L.
Mr. Peterson, can you see and hear Dr. McDougall? I can, Your Honor. Dr. McDougall, were you able to see and hear Mr. Peterson's response to me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. State, anything I need to do before I bring the jury back in?
No.
Defense, anything you need? Okay, please bring the jury back in. Doctor, as soon as the jury comes back in, I'm going to have the state call you as a witness, and we're going to do that whole thing again. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
I wish I could have a skip button, you know, skip. Give me the parts of the hearing I actually care about, you know, give me the things I need to know so I can adjudicate this. I don't need to know they're dead. I got it. They're dead. Let's move on. Right, the manner of death is not the critical issue, right? It was in the George Floyd trial. It's not here. Right, we're not having to squeeze out the technicalities as it relates to the manner of death, but we're going to do it anyway. And let's talk about something that matters, you know. Yeah, I'm not sure at this point they've even proved cowardice, so I don't know, man. Kind reminder, everyone, to please keep that pinned comment. We do a new tweet comment every time for every stream, so you tweeted before, we need you to tweet again. Make sure to tweet the Twitters.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen.
Share the good word that is on civil law. It's probably by far and away the best thing you can do to help the channel. That's what I'm going with anyway.
Ladies
Well,
and
you
gentlemen,
have so
welcome
far
back.
hit
Come
the
on
free
in.
tweet
May
button.
be
If you
seated.
could convince
All
a few
parties
more
may
of
be
you to do
seated.
it, that'd be
Ladies
great.
and gentlemen, those of you using the notepads, I'll give you a moment to get the notepads back out. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, when we took the quick break to change witnesses using the technology, we were in the middle of the state's presentation. We're going to resume at that point. State, when you are ready, you may call your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state calls Dr. Rebecca McDougall, please stand.
Dr. McDougall, can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, you can put your hand down. Can you please state your full name and spell your full name?
My name is Rebecca MacDougall, REBECCA-MACDOUGALL.
Mr. Klinger, you may inquire.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, Doctor. How are you?
I'm fine, how are you?
Good. Doctor, could you please tell the jurors what your occupation is?
I am the Chief Medical Examiner at the Broward County Medical Examiner's Office.
And how long have you been the Chief Medical Examiner for Broward County?
Interim from the middle of June of 2021 and was formally named Chief in mid-July of 2021.
And can you just please, only ask you, how long have you worked with the Broward County Medical Examiner's Office?
I started on July 1st of 2010. I've been in Broward County all but 18 months. In 2015, I went up to Palm Beach County and then came back 18 months later.
Okay. Have you worked at any other medical examiner's offices?
I have done locums in Volusia and Pinellas County.
Can you also please give a general description of your educational background for the jurors?
Sure. I did my undergraduate studies at the University of Texas. I went to medical school at the University of Texas Health Science Center in Houston, Texas. I did a 4-year anatomic and clinical pathology residency at Texas Tech University in Lubbock, Texas, and a 1-year forensic fellowship at the Broward County Medical Examiner's Office.
And do you have any board certifications?
I do. I'm boarded in anatomic pathology and forensic pathology.
And could you tell us approximately how many autopsies you have performed over the course of the years?
About 3,000 autopsies.
And do you have an approximate number of how many of those autopsies were related to gunshot wounds?
At least 700.
Doctor, I want to turn your attention back to February 14th of 2018. Were you working that day?
I was.
Okay. And were you called on to perform any autopsies from a mass shooting that happened at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida?
I was.
How many autopsies did you perform?
I did 3 autopsies that day.
All right. And was one of those autopsies done on Scot Beagle?
Yes, sir.
Were you able to determine either before or during or after the autopsy Mr. Beagle's age, his weight, and his height?
He was 35 years old. He weighed 160 pounds, and he was 68 inches tall.
And were you able to tell from your autopsy how many bullet wounds Mr. Scot Beagle had?
So he had a total of 4 gunshot wounds.
And can you just give the jurors a brief description of those wounds, please?
I can. On the left side of Mr. Beagle's back were 3 entrance gunshot wounds that matched up with a single exit wound on the right side of the chest in the front. Multiple fragments were collected and there was 1 exit wound. The paths of these wounds injured the upper and lower lobes of the left lung, the pericardial sac, the heart, the pulmonary arteries, the aorta, and the pulmonary trunk, which are all of the great vessels that come off the heart, upper, middle, and lower lobes of the right lung, and it fractured some ribs. There was another gunshot wound. The 4th gunshot wound was in the left upper extremity, and it injured skin, soft tissue, and muscle.
And when you say the left upper extremity, are you referring to a particular?
The left arm.
Left arm, okay. The gunshot wounds you just described, certainly the first ones you were describing sounded very severe in the sense that it hit his arteries and near his heart. Would those wounds have caused death or immediate death to Mr. Beagle?
They would have caused death, yes, sir.
Also, was there a report number assigned by the Broward County Medical Examiner's Office for that autopsy?
Yes, sir. It's 18-0533.
Thank you. And can you tell us what the cause of death was?
Cause of death was multiple gunshot wounds.
And can you tell us what the manner of death was?
Homicide.
And, since we're using technology, normally I would show you in the courtroom a photograph, but we're going to put it up on the screen. It's taken from States 23, which in evidence is States 23. And I would like, if you could take a look at it and see if you can identify the person in the photograph.
That is Scot Beagle.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor. As the Chief Medical Examiner of Broward County.
Mr. Clerk, I'm sorry, press pause. Brief sidebar, please.
Chicken wings are tasty, guys. Half blue cheese, half mild buffalo sauce with a little salt and pepper is a winner. Num 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 num. You guys can hear me, right? All right, just checking. Yeah. I'm soft, but yes. I can move my mic a little closer. I moved it a little bit further away because I was eating. So. The room is definitely not very full. Definitely plenty of spaces for people to come and watch the trial. There's no one there. Interesting.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to press pause on the direct examination. Just a little glitch with the technology. All right, if you step in the back one moment, I'll be right back with you. Thank you very much. Okay, we're outside the presence of the jury. Everyone can be seated. Doctor, if you'll just bear with us a moment. I got to get Mr. Peterson back on the Zoom call, okay?
Going back to editing while I'm waiting. Just a kind reminder, everyone, if you could please hit that retweet button if you haven't done so already. I would really appreciate it quite a lot.
Thank you.
I think it is by far and away the best thing that can help the channel. 15 so far of you have retweeted this afternoon's link. If I could convince a few more of you to retweet, 40 of you retweeted this morning's link. That was very nice of you. And I think it helps. I think it helps get the message out and awareness of the channel and people learning about things. I think it is good organic promotion. So if you'd be so kind as to please hit that retweet button, as now 16 of you have done, I think it makes a huge difference. Thank you. See if we can get some more people to come over this way and join on civil law on our streams. And I'm thankful for the 200 of you who are here. You guys rock. Got to get some calories in my body so I can do my workout after the trial's over.
Okay, Dr. McDougall, can you see Mr. Peterson?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Peterson, can you see and hear Dr. McDougall?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so for the record, we're using the state attorney's computer at this point, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, very good. Okay, both can see and hear each other. Please bring the jury.
Judge, before the jury comes in,
Sure.
can I just bring something to the court's
Sure.
attention? And there's only one more to go, and that was the autopsy of Kara Laughlin. That autopsy was performed by Dr. Malik. We were not able to get, Dr. Malik has moved north. He's out of the country on a vacation. And I asked Dr. McDougall to review all of his reports and his drawings and his pictures of the full autopsy file. And I asked her if she would be able to give the jurors analysis of what happened during that autopsy.
Okay. Mr. Eichenarz, do you have any objection to that?
No.
Okay, so without objection from the defense, I think the case law allows for that in these type situations, but there's no objection from the defense. State otherwise ready to proceed?
Yes, sir.
Defense otherwise ready to proceed?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please bring the jury back in.
I don't care. They're dead. I know they're dead. I like how the guy in the front row does not stand up. Bad person in the courtroom. Person just typing there, not standing up for the jury. Oh, you think you're above all that there in the front row there with your hair bun? You don't have to stand up for the jury? Some people at the counsel's table aren't standing up, and the defense lawyer isn't standing up. What's that all about? Is standing optional now? What are we doing over here? The defendant's not standing up. Apparently it's choose your own adventure here in the Scot Peterson trial. Maybe they're waiting for the jury to actually like enter or something. I don't know. Okay, now they stand up.
Jurors entering.
The person in the front row stand up. Okay, I withdraw my snarky comment from earlier. I apologize to photographer with the bun. That was.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Come on.
I apologize. I'm sorry.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Come on in. Once you're back in those same seats, you may be seated. All the parties may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, those of you using the notepads, I'll give you a moment to get the notepads back down.
The judge didn't stand. That's true. Disrespect. Disrespect.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, when we took the quick break, we were in the middle of the direct examination of the witness. The witness remains on the witness stand under oath. We're going to resume at that point. Mr. Klinger, when you are ready, you may proceed.
Thank you, sir. Doctor, I was about to inquire from you whether or not you had an opportunity to review another autopsy report.
I have.
Okay. And could you tell us what was the number that was assigned to that autopsy report?
18-0535.
And that would be the autopsy that was performed on Kara Laughlin, Loughran.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us which medical examiner performed the actual autopsy?
Dr. Craig Malik.
And as you already stated to the jury, all of your educational background, your board certifications, and the fact that you are now the chief medical examiner for Broward County, were you able to, using all of your background and education, were you able to review Dr. Malik's reports and be able to give us or tell us about his findings?
Yes, sir.
Were you able to determine Kara's age, weight, and height?
Kara was 14 years old. She was 132 pounds. and she was 60 inches tall.
And the reason for Kara's autopsy was that because she was also a shooting victim at
That's correct.
Stoneman Douglas?
That's correct.
Okay, on February 14th, 2018, correct?
Autopsy was performed on February 15th. The shooting occurred on the 14th. Yes, sir.
Okay, no, you're right. Thank you. How many gunshot wounds did Kara suffer from?
There are 3 gunshot wounds.
All right, and just like you did last time for us with Scott Beal, could you please do the same for Kara?
I can. There are 2 entrance gunshot wounds on the top of the left shoulder. These injure skin, soft tissue, and the superior vena cava, which is a vein that brings blood back to the heart from the upper portion of the body. Gunshot wound D is to the left axilla, so that is right underneath your armpit. This gunshot wound injures skin, soft tissue, ribs on the left side of the chest, 3 through 6, the heart, and the pericardial sac.
And those wounds, would they have caused death?
That's correct.
And so what would then, technically, what would be the cause of death for Kara?
Multiple gunshot wounds
All right. And the manner of death?
is homicide.
Doctor, let me ask you for Kara, and after looking over the reports and at the wounds, can you make any determination of whether or not she would have died immediately or quickly, or maybe it would have taken a while?
I'm going to object. It's prejudicial, calls for sympathy for the jurors, irrelevant.
You know, as to each, it's overruled. Doctor, you can answer the question. Go ahead.
Can't tell you exactly how long. The wound in the left axilla causes a lot of damage to the heart, which would, cause death pretty rapidly.
And can we just go back for a moment to Scott Beagle? I know you explained all of his wounds. The same question: would he have died immediately, or would it have taken a long time? Or
Same objection, Judge.
What would be
Same
your
reasons.
All right, well, they're each overruled again, but otherwise preserved. Go ahead, Doctor, or go ahead, Mr. Clinton. Finish your question.
What would be your medical opinion for Mr. Beagle?
So Mr. Beagle's injuries as well, it caused a lot of damage to the heart, so it would be quick. I can't tell you how quick. It's not immediately incapacitating, but very soon after the shots were fired.
Thank you
All right,
very
lunch
much,
is
Doctor.
over.
I
I
appreciate
need
it.
my chicken wings. I'm a happier one civil.
Cross-examination?
No question from the defense.
State,
you.
the witness excused.
Yes.
All right, Doctor, thank you very much. I'm going to end the meeting at this point.
Thank you, sir.
State, correct, the next witness is a live witness.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, State, when you're ready, you may call your next witness.
The state calls Lieutenant Cardinelli.
Lieutenant Cardinelli.
Good chicken wings. Numb. Are you here to talk about the video? Please talk about the video.
Sir, if I could have you come all the way up here to the witness stand, please. Once you reach it, but before you have a seat, you can just stop and look at me, please. Raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth. Please be seated. And sir, once you are seated, if I can get you to scoot that chair all the way forward as far as it will go, can you please state your full name and spell your full name?
Craig Richard Cardinelli. Craig, C-R-A-I-G, Richard, R-I-C-H-A-R-D, Cardinale, C-A-R-D-I-N-A-L-E.
The video's paused. It's not me. Looking for alternative feed right now. No, there's no output. There's no feed right now. All right. So we just don't have a feed right now. We'll just have to wait. He's looking at 95 years. Yeah. There's no feed right now, so we'll just hunker down here and no, there's no feed. Law and crime is down and local news is also down. So the feed is down. I'm gonna put up the local news and they're also showing the same thing. So the feed is just down. Well, thank you for everyone who's here and thank you for joining me as always. Just appreciate everyone who's here. Appreciate everyone who helped retweet the pinned comment. Appreciate everyone who votes in my polls. Try to make it fun every day. Appreciate everyone who watches my edited stories. I've been doing some editing in the background when I haven't been eating. 95 years is what he's facing, plus loss of pension. So we're just here and we don't have anything right now. So yeah, Court Tech, yeah. Court Tech is what it is. You think they're showing the video of him dithering around for 45 minutes, the most important piece of evidence, really, for us? They cut the entire feed. If they cut the entire feed and we can't see the tape that has been alluded to, I'm going to be a somewhat grumpy uncivil. You know, the tape that is perhaps the most important piece of evidence, right? If the most important piece of evidence can't be shown, I'm going to be very grumpy. Storms are hitting southeast. Okay, it could be a storm issue. What else you guys want to talk about? Maybe this is the witness that really brings it all together. How am I feeling? I'm feeling reasonably good. Thank you for asking. I had a nice workout today. I'm planning on going, or apologize, workout yesterday. I'm planning on going today. I had improv yesterday. I'm doing a new improv tonight as well. So now I'm doing double up improv. I did a lot of editing this weekend. I edited up 16 stories this weekend. Now I'm doing some editing from Monday and whenever else the other previous day was. I think I'm doing editing from like the 14th because for some reason I didn't have that and I realized I didn't have it in my edit because I hadn't uploaded the stories. And so I had to re-download that and get it and get it. So I think I'm doing cuts from the 14th and doing cuts from yesterday. And I've been cutting in the background a little bit while I've been listening because not much has been happening. So very exciting fun. Have I tried flavored sparkling waters with Crystal Light? No, I haven't, but that sounds interesting too. Regular water's cheaper, so and more readily available. So I just use regular water. When's the next Supreme Court drop? I believe Thursday is the next Supreme Court drop. So yeah, things are going relatively well in my life. I had a nice call from my mother during the break, calling to tell me that she loved me. We had a nice conversation. That was really nice. I love her too. Things seem to be heading in a positive direction in my life. I've almost been out of my job a year now. It'll be a year pretty soon. Doesn't really feel like it, to be honest. This channel's going relatively well. I'd like it to do better. I'd like to see what we can do to make it more popular and more people watching it, and what we can do to have more people live streaming and participating. I'd like to see what we can do to make it a more popular channel and grow. I'd like to see it grow to, 500,000 people, 500,000 subs. And right now the subs are heading in the wrong direction, which is fine in some respects because that's kind of been long overdue compared to other channels. But, it's going fine. The channel brings in enough revenue to keep me going. It allows me to live a modest lifestyle, which is fine. Means I cook more at home now because I was spending way too much money on delivery food by a lot. The amount of money I was spending on Uber was ridiculous. So there's less of that now, which is probably for my best. Be nice to your mom because you want to talk to her after she's gone and you can't. I am nice to my mom, and you're right. You're right, but thank you for remembering. Thank you for reminding me that my mother and father are going to die someday. That was information I didn't necessarily need in my life, but thank you for bringing that to my renewed attention. I love my mother and father. They've been very good to me. They celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary this year. So, and they still love each other. And they've been very good to me, and they're good parents.
Of the doors.
I don't know all the room numbers to all the buildings and stuff like
As far
that.
as the doors on the east side of the 1200 building, do you remember what they looked like?
Yes,
Did the doors on the east side of the 1200 building have slats that you were able to see through, glass panes?
yes, there is.
And do you recall being able to see through those glass panes on the doors?
I remember there's glass panes there, but I opened the doors right away, and then I was looking right inside and stepped inside.
Describe for the members of the jury what was immediately visible to anyone who would have taken the time to just open the doors to the east side of the 1200 building. What was right in front of you?
So right when I opened the doors, it was smoky from gunpowder, I guess. You could smell it as well. And probably about 25 feet in front of me, there was a couple of bodies right on the floor in clear sight.
Saints Girl, my thoughts can overall be
Once you open
expressed
the
with
doors,
skeptical.
explain what you're doing. How are you assessing what to do next?
So as I'm holding the door and I'm keeping an eye on the stairway and the hallway, I can't tell you exactly how quick or how many minutes it was. Some of the officers brought out a female that had some wounds to her chest and her abdomen, having some gunshot wounds. So at that point, a golf cart came up somehow, and we bringing the girl to the golf cart, and then at that point, one of the police officers was going to ride with the wounded person, and I said, no, wait, stop, let the medic continue to tender care to the person, and we need the officers here, we need whatever help we can have here. So then the medic and somebody else, I don't know who was driving the golf cart, drove off with the girl to bring them to medical help.
My mom and dad are
In
high
that
school
moment, why was
sweethearts.
it important to have all officers
They
available?
met in high school.
We
and
still
they
weren't
stayed
sure
together.
if the shooter was on scene or not, and we needed to
So
start
they've known
searching
each
and
other.
checking the area.
Now,
For
while this is all happening, do
60
you
years.
notice a deputy, Scot Peterson, at some point?
At some point, yes.
Explain for the members of the jury what happens.
So as I was holding my position, I see somebody on the sidewalk over there, and I see someone pacing back and forth and looking down saying, oh my gosh, oh my God, oh my gosh. At that point, I knew we needed help. We didn't need somebody pacing back and forth. And I looked and I said, who are you? And he said, I'm the SRO. And I said, well, what the fuck are you doing out there? You should be inside.
When you said this to him, what did he do?
He continued to just, oh my gosh, I can't believe this, and looking down.
Now, Lieutenant, in that moment, were you also overwhelmed by the situation?
I think it's a stressful time for everybody in that situation, but it's a bad day to be a police officer. You go and do your job. You got to put things aside and you do what you have to do.
In that moment, based on your observations, just of the officers that are near you, also working that 1200 building, did the other officers also appear to be under the stress of the events?
I'm sure everybody was under stress, but there was a time for action, and that was the time.
And once you have this verbal interaction with Deputy Peterson, what happens next?
I don't know the exact time frame, but I think I was there a lot longer than what I initially thought, but in that time, I had already asked, I think, the captain. I said, hey, I'm going to call our SWAT team as well. So I know I made a phone call while I was holding the situation, made a phone call to call our SWAT commander at the time and tell him they actually were in training that day. So I said, bring the team, everybody, we need everybody we can, we need help. So I made a phone call to them, and I believe I might have texted my son once or twice in that time to ask what room he was in.
And what did your son respond to you?
Yes, he responded, I'm in room 1230.
When you got that text back from your son, did it bring you some relief?
Well, I knew he was okay at that point.
And when you were told room 1230, did that mean anything to you? Did you know where that room was?
I had no idea where the room was, no.
What did you do?
So I asked the SRO, Scot Peterson, I asked him, what floor is 1230 on? And he looked at me and he says, it's on the 3rd floor. So I text my son, are you on the 3rd floor? He goes, I'm on the 2nd floor, Dad.
So then what do you do with that information?
So I didn't know who might be wrong or right, but moments later, my son had texted me, a police officer walked by the door. So I knew that since a police officer walked by the door, then I knew he was going to be fine. And he was safe at the time.
Once your son lets you know that there's a police officer there, while that happens, are you still in your position in the stairwell?
Yes.
Can you explain for the jury what it is specifically that you're doing in the stairwell? What does it mean to maintain a position?
So I'm making sure that if anybody not in a uniform at that point comes down, that I'm ready to handle the situation. I'm looking down the entire hallway because I could see from east to west to the exit doors out there. So I'm maintaining the visual on that and at the stairwell at the same time to make sure nobody comes out that could possibly be the shooter.
Lieutenant, you're with Sunrise. The other officers are with DSO. Some there are from Coral Springs. How were you able to communicate with each other?
We were talking to each other, just talking.
Were you able to formulate a plan and work all together?
Yes, I mean, it was fluid, because when we were right outside before it all started, it was, hey, you do this, you do this, you do this. And then as like injured people were coming out, we had to adjust, when the one person came out. But until there was some other kind of assignment, we did what we were doing.
While you were all doing your jobs, was Deputy Peterson assisting?
No.
What happens next?
I don't know exactly the time frame. I held the door for a while. I knew that our SWAT team was en route, and moments later, I don't know how long, as more officers started coming, because they were coming from everywhere, my son had texted me that we're being escorted out of the building.
Did your son end up exiting the building through the east side or through the west, if you recall?
The west side.
How did you come to find out that your son had exited the building?
I don't know how many minutes later it was, but he texted me, I'm out of the building.
Once your son exited the building, what did you do?
It was probably another, it probably could be another 10 minutes. Once a large amount of officers started to get there, I don't know how many, but there was a large number of officers. I told one of them, hey, relieve me. I'm going to go check on I'm going to go reunite with my son. So I think maybe one of the SWAT teams already there, and they were checking. There must have been another 50 or 100 police officers at the time. So at that time, I felt we had the situation under control. We were no longer hearing gunshots, and the building had pretty much been checked, and we knew that he was not there. So I asked one of the officers, could you relieve me? And they relieved me, and then I went and met up with my son.
From the moment that you parked your car and arrived on scene to the moment that you left that day, did you ever hear any gunshots?
I did not hear any gunshots.
Do you know how much time had elapsed by the time you arrived on campus from when the shooter had already left the building?
I do not know.
Lieutenant, when you refer to the SRO, Scot Peterson, do you see him in the courtroom today, the man that you had the verbal interaction with?
I do.
Can you please identify him by the color of his tie?
I can't see his tie. Red.
Your Honor, let the record reflect the witness's identification.
Yeah, the record shall so reflect. You may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. I have no further questions.
Okay, cross-examination, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Lieutenant.
Hello.
If I heard you correctly, you have been a law enforcement officer for 30 years,
I'm in my 29th year now.
City of Sunrise,
Correct.
and you are a lieutenant in special operations, correct?
Yes.
And back on February 14, 2018, you were also in the same division, the Special Operations Unit, correct?
Yes.
And your rank was lieutenant back then, correct?
That is correct.
My understanding is that you hear sirens, and then a friend, a fellow police officer, says that there's an active shooter at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School, correct?
Yes.
And this had an extraordinary impact on you, I can imagine, because you obviously had a son there, correct?
Yes.
And do you know the exact time that you arrive on campus?
I don't know the exact time. It was right after my friend called me, I sped to there, so I don't know.
I mean, Cruz was definitely gone by then, correct?
We weren't sure if he was gone by then.
I understand, but you later learned that the shooter was already gone, but you just didn't know it, correct?
Yes, he was gone by the time I got there.
All right.
From later learning that.
Got it. And when you arrive, you see a number of officers, and they're in a position of cover, are they not?
Well, at the gate, the two were just standing at a gate. There's not much cover at the gate.
Okay,
But the one by the tree, he was behind a tree.
okay. And the one by the tree, you saw him taking a position of cover behind the tree, correct?
I did.
And they didn't enter the 1200 building, correct?
I saw them there. I don't know what they did before or after.
You don't know what their real-time intelligence was, correct?
I don't know what their intelligence was, no.
You don't know what was said to them on their BSO radios prior to you arriving, correct?
I don't.
But they did indicate to you, don't go in there because they were concerned about sniper firing, correct?
I don't know about sniper fire, it was an active shooter.
Okay. Well, they directed you towards the building and they indicated to you, he's shooting the windows out. Remember them saying that to you?
You can shoot windows out without being a sniper. You could shoot them from a hallway.
Gotcha. But they made it clear that the person or persons in the building could potentially be shooting out of the windows, correct?
They made it clear windows were shot out.
Okay. And they felt that it was of such concern to them that they even warned you about it, correct?
They addressed their concerns.
And you see additional officers not going into the 1200 building, taking positions of cover, correct?
I didn't see additional ones. I saw the two at the gate, the ones at the tree. When I ran up to the rest of them, we were going in that building.
Gotcha. You did see Coral Springs Officer Burton standing there, correct?
I don't know their names. I know there was a captain there, and there was probably 4 of us that were there at least.
Do you remember seeing Officer Best also standing there, not going in?
I don't remember names.
Did you expect that the radios were patched between BSO and Coral Springs when you arrived?
I didn't expect anything.
There was a captain giving out orders, correct?
The captain formulating a plan, yes.
And you went up to that captain because when you arrive on a scene like this, explain for the jurors, it's not a free-for-all, right? You don't just decide what you're going to do. You have to get a plan, correct?
There was no shots going on at the time, so we had time to develop a plan of action. If there's shots, you go in.
Understand, if you don't hear shots and/or you don't know where the shots are coming from, and you're covering an area that might be hundreds and hundreds of yards long in one direction, another direction, another direction, another direction, you try to formulate a plan and get more real-time intelligence, correct?
You can try to formulate yes, we formulate a plan, we go in.
Right. Now, you knew, because those officers made it clear to you, by pointing at that building, you knew the 1200 building was the place to go, correct?
That's correct.
All right. No one ever said, hey, it could be the 1300 building as well, correct?
No one said that.
Did anyone ever tell you it could be the football field, that shots were fired by the football field?
Nobody said that.
Now, if they did, you would have taken that seriously and thought maybe there might be shooter or shooters located over there too, correct?
If somebody said there may be more shooters, then
Yeah.
we'd take it seriously.
All right. Did you know whether you were just dealing with one shooter or multiple shooters?
Had no idea at the time.
Okay, so then you're trained as law enforcement officers to consider that there might be multiple shooters anywhere on campus, correct?
There could have been, but they only heard it in one building.
Yeah, the ones who directed you and gave you that intelligence, correct?
Yes.
All right. And those people made it very clear that there was danger if you were to go into the building, correct?
They didn't make it clear there was danger. We were going in the building.
I understand that. Now, you see my client for the first time, you say he's standing on a sidewalk, correct?
Yes.
Did you know at all, in real time, what his experience was up to that point?
I have no idea what he was doing.
You didn't know what BSO had indicated to him on his radio, correct?
I did not know.
You didn't know what type of thoughts he had concerning where the shots might be located, correct?
Correct?
And you did see him huffing and puffing, correct?
Yes.
And you did see him with genuine emotion saying, oh my God, correct?
The genuine emotion, counsel's testifying.
Well, no, that's overruled. Go ahead, sir, you can answer that question.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, please?
Did you see him with genuine emotion as he was saying, oh my God, I can't believe this, oh my God?
Well, he was looking down, so he was huffing, puffing, oh my God.
And that was around the time that a body
your
of a
house in,
female
huffing,
was brought out of that building.
blow your
Is that
house
correct?
in, huffing.
I don't remember if
blow your
she
house
was there
in.
first, and we got her out, and then he was there. I don't remember the exact timeline. But if you do this job long enough, you see plenty of bodies, and it's time to act, not time to not act.
You're not robots, though. You're human, correct?
We are human.
And you're subject to stress, correct?
That's correct.
And when you see a child coming out of a building, you can't train the response away, correct?
You can train to put your emotions aside and handle stuff. And that's what we do.
Are you suggesting that every one of your officers is successfully able to completely devoid themselves of emotion?
I don't know what every officer can do.
Okay. My client never said to you, I know where the shooter or shooters are located, correct?
I don't remember him saying that.
Right. Nor did he ever tell you that I know that there's children and/or adults being killed in the 1200 building, correct? He never said anything like that, correct?
If they're shooting in that building, you're assuming children are being killed.
I understand, sir. Back to my question. Did he at any point tell you that he knew that anyone was being killed during the shooting?
He did not tell me.
Okay. And when you did ask him what's going on, his response to you was, I don't know, correct?
That was his response.
Now, you didn't think in real time, well, here's a guy who knows, but he's faking it.
Objection.
Yeah, that's the snake. Go ahead, sir. Ask another question.
Now, you did see my client on the radio, did you not?
I don't remember if I saw him. I think he said something on the radio at some time.
Okay.
I don't know if it was a school radio or a police radio, because SROs carry both.
But you do have now an independent recollection of my client actually on the radio when you were present, correct?
I think he said he heard something on the radio. I don't know if he keyed up and was talking, or if he heard it.
You didn't know who he was talking to, correct?
Correct.
You don't know which radio he was on at that
Well,
moment,
the audio
correct?
changed pretty
Correct.
substantially there now, didn't it?
And just so we're clear, you didn't look through the window and see the bodies. You opened up the door. That was your testimony, correct?
If you look through the windows, you would see bodies.
Okay. that
But
was
I
my
opened the
question.
door.
Your testimony was you didn't look in the window. You opened up the door and saw bodies, correct?
I opened the door and saw bodies.
You don't know how close my client got to the actual slits on those doors, correct?
I don't know how close he was.
Okay. You never saw him looking in through any of the slits of the windows on the doors, correct?
I wish he were that close.
Back to
Oh,
my
I did.
question. You never saw him, correct?
Oh, I did not see him.
All right. Now, you were talking with officers without your radios because they were standing right near you, correct?
Yes.
My client, for example, couldn't have been speaking to officers, like the ones that you saw that were not going into the 1200 building by the fence, correct? That was too far, correct?
When I was asking him about what rooms they were in, or?
In general, unless the officers are right in front of you,
Yeah, I don't think they would have heard. The ones at the gate, I don't think would have heard him.
you would need your radio, for example, to communicate with those people, correct?
Yes.
You need your radios to communicate with dispatch, correct?
Yes.
Because dispatch is not on the scene, correct?
Correct.
And if someone, let's say from Carl Springs, gives real-time intelligence to BSO, my client would need a radio to be able to hear that information, correct?
Objection, speculation.
No, that's overruled, so I don't want you to guess, but if you have personal knowledge, you can answer the question.
Could you repeat it for me, please?
Yeah, the way it works is you need a radio to be able to speak with dispatch
Yes.
and hear what they're saying in case real-time intelligence comes in to dispatch, correct?
On the radio, yes.
Yes. You also need a
Okay,
radio
just cut up
to
13
hear
more
what other
stories while
officers
we've
are
been
saying,
talking
assuming
today.
they're not right in
Look
the
at how
immediate
I'm being
presence of them, correct?
multitasking productive.
Yes.
16 stories yesterday. I think I cut up 13 more today, man. 29 some more stories for the channel. Woo! Woo!
You didn't run into that 1200 building before you first spoke to a captain on scene, correct?
That's correct.
And you asked that captain, hey, where do you need me, correct?
What can I do? Where do you need me?
Right. Because there's a chain of command on a scene.
There was no chain of command on that scene.
There's supposed to be some type of leader.
Hold on. I didn't hear the question. Go ahead, Mr. Alvarez, ask your question.
At a scene, there's somebody who's the highest ranking person that's supposed to give out orders, correct?
Not at that type of scene. The first person there has the best intelligence. So that person will then say, this is what I have, and then you formulate it. As long as shots aren't being fired, at that time you have time to formulate a plan. If shots are being fired, you go in as a contact team.
Even you were concerned about running in because of potential friendly fire, correct?
After there was no longer gunshots, and we didn't hear anything, after we had our positions where we were, and when, as officers are searching the floors, you don't want to run in if they're not expecting you to be on that floor.
Explain that to the jurors. Why are you concerned about friendly fire if you were to run into a building? You're all cops, right? They're not going to harm you, are they?
Well, they're searching for a suspect at the time. They're not sure what he's wearing, what he's doing. Okay, so if they already said, we know this team is going to the 3rd floor, that team would methodically search from one end to another. So if I went up a different stairwell and they're not expecting me, there could be friendly fire.
And all the time that you're on the scene, none of you knows that the shooter is long gone by then, correct?
We do not know that.
So you're operating with the mens rea, the thought process, that that shooter could still be there on campus somewhere, correct?
And calls for a legal conclusion.
No, it's overruled as to both. Go ahead, sir, you can answer me.
Could you repeat it, sir?
So you're operating under the state of mind that the shooter or shooters are still potentially right there on scene, correct?
We're not sure if they're not on scene, yes.
And so you still have to take the proper precautions, correct? Or else you could be killed, correct?
You take the proper precautions when there's no more gunfire going on.
And at no point did you ever go over to my client and ask him from beginning to end, hey, what's happened? What was your real-time intelligence? What did you know? You never did that, did you?
I wasn't going to walk away from the scene when I have an assignment to protect the hallway and protect the stairwell.
To this day, you have never spoken with my client about what he went through.
I have never spoken to your client.
Relevance.
No, it's overruled. You already answered the question. Go ahead, sir, ask your next question.
Nothing further.
All right, based on that, any redirect?
Yes.
Go ahead.
We are the champions,
Why does
my
the possibility of
friend.
windows being shot out not deter you?
Just because windows are shot out doesn't mean somebody's shooting at you.
What do you mean?
Well, I can shoot that window down from the end of the hallway. It doesn't mean I'm taking a position to shoot down at somebody.
You had no idea if there was one shooter or two shooters. Why did that not deter you?
Because if there's a shooter going on, your job is to go in there and try to save lives. Neutralize the threat.
Is the smell of smoke real-time intelligence?
Yes,
Is blood on the ground real-time intelligence?
I would say yes.
Are bodies on the ground real-time intelligence?
Yes.
Were all of those things clearly observable to you the moment you opened the doors to the east side of the 1200 building?
Yes, they were all right there.
And nothing else? Okay.
Based on that, any recross?
Yeah. There was no smoke outside of the 1200 building, correct?
When I opened the doors, I could see smoke inside the building.
I understand. Prior to you opening up the door, there's no smoke billowing outside of the 1200 building.
I did not see it.
Nor is there any blood outside of the 1200 building.
I didn't see it.
And nor are there any bodies outside of the 1200 building, correct?
I didn't see it, you know.
Okay, is the witness excused?
Across.
I guess it.
So you may step down.
Thank you.
While he's doing that, quick side vote, please.
He's good on cross. I like him. I would definitely hire him as an attorney. He's a good lawyer. You know, I like a lot of what he's doing. He has a lot of work. Might be a little bit different in the execution. He's got like, he's got a nice guy that knows that he uses good examples. I go about it a little bit differently. He's very good. I actually do like the okay, you can't hear me over the static? No. It wasn't important. That's okay. It wasn't important. Nobody needs to hear what I had to say. I was just saying that I think the defense lawyer is a very good lawyer. I think that he is very experienced in his craft and he knows the tools that he has and he's very good at his job. I think I'd go about executing it differently, but he's very polished.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, just because of scheduling issues, we're going to press pause on the trial at this point for today. I'm going to get you out of here a little bit early today.
Okay.
I want to repeat a couple things. Again, no promises, but it appears the state's going to rest their case tomorrow, what we discussed earlier. So we're substantially ahead of that original schedule that I gave you.
So there's
At
trial
least that's
tomorrow?
number one, and then we would move right into the defense presentation. I do need to speak to juror number 6 one more time. But besides that, ladies and gentlemen, as to all of you, same admonition as always, please don't discuss the facts of the case, the evidence, the witnesses, or the testimony amongst yourselves or anyone else. I'm going to remind you to please not do any research on this case, directly or indirectly, from any source whatsoever, nothing on social media, the internet. Please don't watch the news. Please don't read the newspaper.
Make sure to hit that subscribe button on
I'm
Civil
going to
Law.
ask you to be back at the jury room tomorrow, Wednesday, June 21st at 9:15.
Okay, so we're back
9:15
in trial tomorrow.
Wednesday,
Okay, fine.
June 21st, if you'll leave the
Very
notebook
well.
in your chairs.
We'll be back
I'll wait
tomorrow.
for you when you come back. Juror number 6, if you can just remain one moment, I will be right with you. Thank you.
Closed captioning is not up to me. I have it set on, and the closed captioning appears or it doesn't. It's not up to me. So sorry that it wasn't available. I do my best.
Okay, we're outside the presence of the rest of the jury. Everyone can be seated. So, did you have a chance to read the email, call, or think about what I talked to you about earlier? Okay, and at this point, you tell me, how do you want to proceed? Do you want to stay with us at this point? You do want to stay? Okay, so you're going to work that out with your employer based on the information that I gave you. Okay, State, is there any questions that you would like me to ask?
No.
Defense, is there any questions that you would like me to ask?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, have a good night. I'll see you at 9:15 tomorrow morning. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, juror number 6 is going to stay on for us. All right. I'm surprised. I thought for sure they'd bail, but
Okay, we're outside
Okay.
the presence of the entire jury. Everyone can be seated. So, I'll talk to you about scheduling about Thursday and Friday, but State, anything else you need me to address before we recess the trial for the day? Defense, anything else you need me to address?
No.
So I have a short docket tomorrow, which is why we're doing the 9:15. I have likewise a short docket on Friday. This Thursday is my once-a-month calendar call. I have a large docket Thursday. I think we originally told the jurors maybe 10:30 a.m. or 11 a.m. That might have been on the schedule. It's going to take some time. And again, there's no time limits. I'm not limiting either side. We're so far ahead of the schedule, but there's a couple ways to do it. I guess I'll tell you the options, and then I'll talk to you about it some more tomorrow. But choice one is I could have the jurors come back, say, at 11 o'clock Thursday, and we could work for an hour and a half, have the normal lunch break, and then the balance of the day if we're in the defense case. Choice number two would be to have the jurors eat on their own and maybe have them return at 12:15 or 12:30, period. And then we just go through so you can have 4 or 5 uninterrupted hours for your presentation. Or choice three would be just to have them come back at the normal time after the normal lunch break, would be 1:30, I guess, and then work half the day Thursday afternoon. I just don't want the jury to have to wait for me. I don't want you all to have to wait for me. I think I have about 60 matters that I have to handle Thursday morning in my regular division, so it's going to take a little bit of time.
I do 60 cases in the morning. And then I'm
I'll
gonna get
leave
back
you
to
with
guys.
that, and then you all can discuss it amongst yourselves, how you want to proceed, and then we'll tell the jurors tomorrow. State, anything else you need me to address before we recess the trial for today?
No, Your Honor.
Defense, anything else?
Nothing else.
Okay, so the trial will be in recess until tomorrow, which is Wednesday, June 21st at, we'll call it 9:30 a.m. Division FX will be in recess until tomorrow, Wednesday, June 21st at 8:45 a.m. I hope you all have a good rest of your afternoon. All right, Madam Court Reporter, that is.
8:45?
Thank you, Judge. Have a good night.
I'm not sure when exactly this is supposed to happen tomorrow at this point. We'll have to play that one by ear. So we'll be on tomorrow at some point. Not sure exactly when. But yeah. Okay, we'll be back tomorrow. So apparently whatever that Wednesday thing was apparently a one-time thing, or he rescheduled around it or whatever, which is, unusual when judges are in trial. They don't tend to dislike interrupting their flow with other things. So, but it's not always avoidable. Apparently Thursday, it's like, I'm gonna hear 60 other cases Thursday morning. You guys can come in Thursday afternoon and you can be my 61st. So that's where we're sitting on this one. Well, still not so much with the tape. Still not so much with the tape of him sitting cowering for whatever time is going on. The lawsuit, the class action against Kia and Hyundai and Genesis, we did that. We did that. We did it for them being sued for their being easy to steal. We did that. Do lots of things on this channel. So much content. So very, very much content. Too much content. Too much content. What are my thoughts on the judge? He's fair. He's fair. He's fair. I haven't heard him do anything that seems odd or wrong. He has a very interesting way of he wants to do impeachment. So he doesn't like doing impeachment like, well, I'm going to read you the question or something. It's like you can refresh the recollection and then ask them the question. So the way he wants to do impeachment is a little peculiar. That isn't particularly standard. So he wants it done a particular way. So, okay, fine. But he keeps trying to, the defense lawyer keeps trying to do it like I would suppose like the more traditional way. But for whatever reason, this judge doesn't like it that way. He likes it a particular way, and it's his courtroom, so we're going to do impeachment this way. This is what's happening now. So yeah, you can impeach him, but you have to do it this way. It's like, okay, well, fine. So that's the only idiosyncrasy I noted, really. Otherwise, I think the judge has been pretty fair and been very good to both sides. And I think the defense lawyer has definitely been pushing his luck. And I think he knows he's pushing his luck. And he has been trying to go to that. So yeah. Do we have any documents yet for the actual plea deal for Hunter Biden? Do we actually have the plea deal yet? Has it actually been filed? They said they would file it, but I'm not sure when. Let's see if they filed it in, the interim hours. We could talk about that, get that done since we have a little extra time. Well, it doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like the actual plea deal is actually available yet. Yeah. Yeah, slap on the wrist, probation, misdemeanor, paid the taxes. I think he's already paid his taxes. I'm not sure if he has any other tax liability. I think that's already been settled. No jail time and diversion for the gun charge. So, yeah, all that exists right now is just the notice to the court that they've reached an agreement. So we don't have anything more yet. So the information's the actual plea agreement, I don't think is available yet. So that's a little annoying. I'll pull it up in Pacer just to double check, but I'll double check. I'll pull it up in Pacer, see if anything's been filed. I would like to go to the District Court of Delaware because that's where all the cool kids go. District Court of Delaware, let's go there. Let me pull your docket. Oh, yeah. Let me pull your docket, District Court of Delaware. Let me check the docket and see what's been filed. If anything's on the written docket. I have access to the secret docket because it's publicly accessible to anybody. Let's see, CR 23-61. UNA. Yeah, there it is. U.S. versus Biden in all of its Biden glory. Give me a query on that, please. I'd like to take a look at your docket, please. What you got for me on the docket? What's on the super secret docket that's only available to literally everybody? Take a look at the secret docket. Well, the information's been filed. It looks like. It's not much though. It's just basic. Knowingly possessed a firearm, a Colt Cobra 38 special revolver. In case you care. But no plea agreement has been filed yet. That won't be filed till later, probably. Oh well. Yeah, the Avalon is a cool car. The Toyota Avalon's a cool car. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a cool car. So yeah, nothing. But yeah, he gets a misdemeanor conviction on the tax thing, which, you know, fine. And then he gets a diversion on the felony fine. So good times. Okay. Yeah, the Four Loco lady. The Four Loco lady actually didn't make the cut in my cut up. Maybe I should go back and cut her in. I didn't actually cut up that story. I cut up a different story, but I passed on that story for the edit. Every story doesn't make it to the edit. So she didn't make it to the edit. So Four Loco is just something you get to experience if you were there with Uncivil Law when it happened. Someone tried to rob a store in York County with a Nintendo light gun. That's funny. That's old school. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna sign off for now. I'm gonna go to the gym. Four Loco is still a thing, not with the caffeine anymore. Now you just have to do that separately. So and at the Dollar General. Well, I think she brought her own. I think she got this. I think she got the Four Loco from the Circle K across the street, and then went to the Dollar General parking lot in order to flash some youth. So I'm not sure she got the Four Loco at the Dollar General. I think she got it from the Circle K. So if we care about such things. Yeah. I'm going to sign off for now. I'm going to go to the gym and get my workout on, and then I'm going to post a story for tonight. And then I've got to go to improv class tonight for the start of narrative, where we learn how to improv a play at 7:00, and it's downtown. So I got to leave here about 6:15. So I've got about 4 hours till then. All right. I will see you guys tomorrow. I've got a lot to do between now and then. I got 4 hours to do a whole bunch of shit. And I will see you tomorrow for the rest of this trial. Until then, my friends, I hope all's been well. Cheers, my friends, and goodbye.